Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay,
Everybody,
awesome.
this is the Right Reverend Dr. Elder
Oh,
Johnell Nicholas. He is the minister of music
oh my
of
God.
Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church. If you are
Praise the
not
Lord.
in the Chicagoland area, you do not know what that means when we say Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church. I mean, Greater Harvest is an institution. They are.
Glory
They are
to God.
institution in Chicago. I mean, I wasn't back in the day with Reverend Body. My mom was, but I came
Awesome.
in, I was a little girl when Reverend Bracken became the pastor.
Wow.
I was a little bitty girl. And
Awesome.
we sit around a half hour listening to right. She said he said Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Coaching. Right. They were having Terry service and we sitting around the half hour and we be right with them.
Glory.
So I mean,
That's
they are an
awesome.
institution. If you're not in Chicago, you don't understand. That's history. You know, we know fellowship is history. My
Awesome.
props to everybody, you know, but Greater Harvest was like one of my first, I mean, I was just like mesmerized with that church. So I'm honored that you're
I'm honored to
here.
be on.
I'm just
I'm
so
honored to be
thankful.
on.
So, you know what,
I'm
let's
so
get right
honored.
in this because I know you got some good words for us. You're a preacher and you're a choir director. You got
Glory
some
to God.
words. But first of all, I
Glory
like
to
to
God.
do the historical side because I believe when we give information, some people just like to hear your history. You know, how you got
Okay.
started, where you came from. So my
Yes.
first question to you is, how did you get started in the music ministry? We know you're good. I seen your videos. Yeah, he is
Oh, God
anointed.
is
Everybody
good.
keeps telling me you're anointed, you're powerful. I saw that little clip that you had posted today or you shared where you laying out singing. I said, oh, wait, I don't do all that. He do praise God.
God is
Hallelujah.
good. God is good. We give God the glory.
So just tell us a little bit, you know, like how you got started and what's I just
Well,
want to know how, your history.
all right. Well, I mean, I've been in it. I'm 37,
Okay.
and I've literally been in music ministry. I would have to say all my life
Okay.
since my family church,
Oh wow.
St.
Okay.
Philip's Baptist Church. Yeah,
Okay.
I started out singing. I was like 7, 8 years old,
Oh, the
and
prodigy. Hey,
yeah,
Brandon.
yeah. And yeah, that's where it started. My mom, you know, she that's my heart right there. She raised me in church, raised me with to develop a love for music, and it started there and just I mean has gone up from there, you know. So
Oh wow.
I'm just humbled
Kind
and
of,
blessed
kind of,
by
sort
it.
of
Yeah.
like me. Your mom was your lead, and you just kind of fell in line.
Absolutely. Watching Fellowship on Saturdays at 9 o'clock and
Yeah.
watching Saturday Night Sing
Oh
at
yes,
10:30.
yes,
You know,
yes, yes.
those things, in addition to just singing at the family church, those things started and developed that passion for music and for music ministry.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. I just want to give a couple of quick shout outs to Brandy, Danielle Fleming, and Ned, Anna Hatch. Buster's on here, Donald Buster Woods.
What's up?
Yes, he's on here. Amen. And
Awesome.
then we got M. Daniel Lavender Clark, and then we got Deshaun Simmons. Greater Harvest in the
Hey,
house.
Deshaun.
Miriam.
Yeah.
I'm just glad. Thank you to all of you that are watching. Edward Lamar. Oh, Akron, Ohio in the house. All right. All right. Now, one question I'd like to know, Santonio, how are you? Um, what is the most difficult part about being a minister of music? I get that a lot. You know, like they say, well, how hard can it be? Because, you know, of course, when you're anointed in something, it looks
Yes.
easy. The
Right.
anointing makes it looks like, you know, people think you know, and they don't realize how much work it is behind being a
That's
minister
true.
of music. So what in your opinion, what is the most difficult part of being a minister of music? Because you have a
Um,
huge department.
the task is great.
Yes, it is.
And it really is. I would have to say that the most difficult part would probably be, especially in the house that I'm privileged and humbled to serve at, is being able to be relevant to the present time,
Right.
yet uphold the culture and the standard that's developed in that house.
Exactly.
Our church, yes, our church is 106 years old.
Ooh.
And so,
Oh, wow.
yes, 106 years old. And
Wow.
so, so we're traditional, we're Baptist, Baptist-costal, um, and we're known for traditional gospel music. And
Exactly.
so we want to uphold that. However, we want to be relevant to the current time as well.
Exactly.
So trying to build that bridge and that connect where all generations will be able to enjoy and be blessed by what we deliver.
Yes.
That can be challenging at times.
Yes. Okay. Exactly.
Yes.
And me, of course, my music department is nowhere near as great as your responsibility. I mean, 106 years, that's a lot.
Yes.
And you want to be relevant, but as you say, you need a foundation so that the next generation that comes behind, they have something to stand on.
Right.
Because
Right.
sand
We.
is not solid. You need concrete. You
That's right.
need something that if the wind
That's right.
comes, we still know what to do. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Okay. Now I'm gonna decrease and I'm gonna let you
Okay.
increase because I know you got some words for us. Because we just want to know how can we build an effective ministry? So many people, and I mentioned in the other video, but I kind of deleted that because we couldn't get it together. But I'm sure you've seen this video circulating with this guy that looks like a construction worker, and he's directing the. So of course I got people asking me, okay, so what? How do I keep from being that person? How do I build uh, an effective ministry till it's not like a mocking scene? Because I mean, it's pretty bad. When
Right.
I saw it, I was like,
Right.
that's kind of like how I got started with this particular academy, and thankful
Yes.
for people like you and Buster and just so many others, Dr. Cynthia Nunn, and so many others that are willing to
Oh my
like
God.
help
Yes.
because
Yes.
that was bad. So they're asking. So
Yeah.
I'm putting the question on you: how
Okay.
do we develop an effective choral ministry? How do we do that? I mean, if I'm coming in, of course I'm expecting some of the people that have like they have a history in music. They're they're new to it, but they have enough to
Mhm.
build with. And they're like, well, how do we do this? What do I have in my mind? What do I do?
Yes.
So your thoughts.
Well, well, first of all, especially to address the director,
Right.
using this video as an example, we have to understand that directing is more than just swinging our arms in front of
Eh,
a choir.
Repeat that, please.
And yes, directing is more than just doing this, swinging your arms
Yes.
in front
Yes.
of a choir. It
Yes.
is a communication skill. You
Yes.
have to have you have to have skill in communication in order to direct,
Yes.
because you're not just communicating with the choir, but you're communicating with your musicians. You have
Yes.
to know the signals. You have to know patterns. You have to be able to control, what's under your hands. And
Yes.
so my and this might be, I don't want to say it's a little harsh encouragement, but
No,
it's
no.
just honest encouragement
Right.
that if all that we do is this, then maybe directing is not for you,
Uh,
because it's a call, it's
It
a
is.
gifting,
It is. It
it
is.
is a skill.
Seriously? You know what? That's not right. That's not right. Donna, you see what just happened? He's got to send me another request. He loses a connection with us. That is just not right. Okay, let me add him. He's adding back in. Adding.
All
Right. You know what? You were telling the truth. So you just go right back to what you were saying. It is a call. Say it again. Say it
yes,
again. It is a call.
it is a call.
Yes.
It is a skill. You know, it's something that we really have to be developed in, and you have to learn, and you have to grow and nurture in it.
Yes,
You know, I got my start with directing. Then I'm gonna get into the choir part too.
go
I
ahead.
got
Go
my
ahead.
start in directing when my mom took me at 7 years old. I'll never forget it. And anyone that knows me know this, that I started when my mom took me to Cosmopolitan Church of Prayer.
Oh, yes.
7 years old, 6850
Ooh,
South Cottage Grove.
nice grove.
And
Yes.
I saw a young man by the name of Alan Chedwick, Alan Cathay, direct the choir. And
Yes.
I was hooked from then. And so at 7, 8 years old, what I started doing was I was standing in front of the mirror and I had my cassette playing and I was directing, and I would direct for hours.
Yes.
And my
Yes.
neighbor that lived below me, she would get the broom and she would hit the ceiling because my fat self was making so much noise because because I was trying to, even at 7, I knew this was something that I wanted to do. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was
Yes, you
directing in the
do.
mirror from age 7 to like 16. I was
Yep.
directing in the mirror before I
Yes.
stood in front of the choir. And I
That's
always
it.
watched Alec. I watched Walt Whitman. I was able to sing in Soul Children. I watched Walt Whitman up to even the former pastor that I had, Pastor DeAndre Patterson. He was
Okay.
another, even in my adult
Yes.
life, I had to watch and observe a
Mm-hmm.
great director. And
Exactly.
so it's about studying and perfecting this thing that you feel that you've been called to do. It's not just swinging
Exactly.
your arms in front of a choir. So back to that video, if that construction worker would have known that, he probably wouldn't have been in front of,
I
that
I
choir.
didn't know.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yes.
very, very unfortunate situation. So, so that's that. And so it has to start with the director being skilled.
Exactly.
And that's not, again, that's not a arrogant statement. That's not being conceited. That's
No,
just
it's a true
have
statement.
to be, you have to be skilled in communication and in how to control your atmosphere. That's the first thing.
Yes.
Um, when it comes down to building an effective music ministry,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing I would say, in addition to the director, is knowing your singers,
Yes.
those that you are leading. Know their limits, know what they're able to do. Um,
Yes.
However, don't be afraid to challenge those limits.
Right.
But
Exactly.
don't try to move them ahead of their skill level.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we want to challenge the skill level because you want to show that you're confident in those that you're leading, those that you're
Exactly.
directing.
Mm-hmm.
So never be afraid to stretch or to challenge the limits that those that you're directing have. That's a
Exactly.
good way to build an effective music ministry. I got about 14 points, so you need to cut me
Go ahead.
off. Please just cut me off. I would also say that we want to, everything we know starts with punctuality, starts
Yes.
with timeliness. So we want to encourage punctuality. We want to
Yes.
encourage being on time. We want
Mm-hmm.
to encourage taking this task of choir ministry just
Mm-hmm.
as serious as the 9 to 5
See,
job.
yes, exactly. Amen
Um,
to that.
and so if those that we lead, those that we direct,
Hmm.
they have to understand the seriousness of this call.
Exactly.
That although this is a volunteer effort, that it's a calling. Not just me directing is a call, but you
Right.
sing, your singing, your presence in the choir stand is a call as well. And so it needs to be treated as that. It needs to be valued as that. Um, and so that needs to be encouraged
Yes.
by us as directors. We have to constantly put that before our choir members that this is a call. And so they need to take being on time seriously, being dedicated, being committed, being a tithe payer.
Hmm.
Um, it, all of that is important.
You know what?
Being,
One
I'm sorry.
person has a question right quick while you right there. It's
Okay.
Brandy. She says that she has one question. She said, I noticed that he said that was their third rehearsal on the song and they still didn't know the words to the first verse. And she said, am I the only one that kind of feel, let me see if I can get this. Am I the only one who felt like he had kind of I can't imagine. She's talking about the video. She said, Brandy, it kind of cut off. Can you retype that? But I guess she's in reference to the fact that it took them, they were on the third rehearsal and they still could not grasp the song. And I guess she's wondering, was it him or was it them? What do we do in a case like that? Personally, I got my thoughts, but I'm gonna let you answer that.
Now, this is my personal opinion. Again,
Right,
this is why I started off with placing emphasis on the director's ability.
right.
Because a director, again, is not just moving their arms, but a director should have some sort of ability to teach parts.
There you go,
And
Brandon.
if we notice in the video, and we don't want this to turn into a bashing on the video.
Right.
That's not
No,
what
no,
we're
no, no,
trying to
no.
do.
But when you right,
We're just using this for teaching, as my bishop would say.
exactly.
Shout out to my pastor, Pastor Eric Thomas, by the way. Um, we're just using this for teaching,
It's teaching
and
purposes.
he didn't know how to teach, and so you
Right.
can't expect a choir to deliver beyond your skill level.
Oh, you just said something right there.
You you know because even if you have a choir full of people that may not be the strongest singers or may
Mhm.
not be the best singers in the world, if
Right.
you have a particular skill level to be able to work with what you have, then
See?
you should be able to be able to get some kind of decent sound out of what you have.
Ex-
But
See? You preaching.
if you don't have the skill level to make it happen, then you'll be doing 3 rehearsals with On Christ the Solid Rock,
Maybe 10. But we moving
or
on.
maybe 10. You know, so that's that.
Right.
Again, about the encouraging spirituality, because they have
Okay.
to understand that it's bigger than the song. So we have
Right.
to encourage spirituality, encourage being in tune with the pastor's vision. These are
Hmm.
things that we as directors have to encourage for our choirs to be effective.
Exactly.
Also, focus on the quality and not the quantity.
Hmm.
If I can be transparent for a moment, we
Go
have
ahead.
3 services every Sunday: 11
Yes, you
a.m.,
do.
3 p.m., and 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
every
Yeah.
Sunday. Okay. Our choir sings on an average of every Sunday between 3 services. You could say we sing about 12, 13 songs
Yes.
every week because of
Right.
all those services. So when I get in rehearsal, um, and I'm trying to teach new songs and then have to review songs they already know, sometime, and this is me being transparent, sometimes I focus so much on trying to get a number of selections, you
Right.
know, to satisfy the service demand that we have,
Hmm.
that it'll affect the delivery of a new song that I've taught, because
Okay.
I'm teaching this new song, but
Hmm.
I got 5 or 6 other songs that I need to go over to try to meet
Right.
a 3 service schedule. And
That's tight.
so even even in being in this thing for a long time, I'm still learning, and I'm encouraging my fellow directors to focus on quality and not quantity. If you
That's it.
can't teach a new song, if you can't teach new song, then just perfect the ones you already know. So
That's
that
it.
when you yeah, so that when the choir stand up, when they're singing, when they're ministering, they can minister in excellence and not
Exactly.
half do it
Have
or haphazard.
you
I will
preaching?
also I will also say, and like I say, stop me at any time. I will also say to my fellow directors, even when it comes down to music, make sure that you're listening to music religiously, like on a day to day, whenever you find time, you're listening to good music that fits the house that you're serving,
But you
that
know, a
fits the
lot of
house that
people
you're
don't.
serving.
They don't do that. You know, like I was telling some directors, I said, whenever I have a song and I'm learning a song to teach, you should be able to
Mhm,
teach it without any assistance. You don't need the organ or anybody. You should be able to teach those
mhm.
parts, every part, on
Right.
your own. You should be able to hear the key and run. And I tell them, I said, when I'm teaching the song and it's new, I never heard it before, I promise you, I've
Mhm.
heard that song 50 times. I can stop at
Yes.
any point in that song and
Yes.
stop anybody and say, no, that's not right. Stop it right there. No, no.
Yes.
Without music.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. We have.
and I'm glad to hear you say what you're saying, because for a while I thought I was kind of like weird or something. Like, man, I'm kind of, why am I don't sitting up here doing all of this? But in order for the choir only gives you what you put out.
What you
If
put out.
if you give
Absolutely.
100%, they're gonna give you back. I mean, they really latch on to who you
Right.
are and your spirit,
Absolutely.
and then they travel. I mean, they go wherever you go.
Absolutely.
It's really the
Absolutely.
director has an influence. And someone had
Absolutely.
mentioned on here, they were saying, well, in that case scenario, when we were mentioning, they were like, well, what would have been the best way to handle it? And I think the best way to handle in that situation, the video that we're talking about, the best way for him to handle it without upsetting everybody is just being prepared.
Preparation is everything. That was on here too. That's on my list of
Oh, well,
stuff to
go.
talk about
What
too.
did you? Sorry.
No, 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 no. You're good, because it all flows in together.
Right.
If there's something that I know that I'm going to teach,
Mm-hmm.
I will listen to that song 15, 20 times. I mean,
See?
it stays
It's,
on repeat
right.
in my playlist. And that's
Yes.
another thing I was going to say about subscribing to an Apple Music or a Google
Right.
Play and
Right.
having a playlist and being able to just listen and rehearse that song.
Yes.
Directors have to have rehearsal before rehearsal.
Say, you know what? They don't get that, but you do.
A choir director has a one-on-one rehearsal with themselves
Hello.
before they rehearse with the choir.
Hello, somebody.
That's the
They don't-
only way it can work. Our rehearsal can't be when we stand before the choir.
No,
Our
no.
rehearsal has to be before we get to the choir.
That's it.
You know, that's
Exactly.
that's preparation. That's planning. That's
Yes,
that's how we can make sure that our choir is effective in delivery.
exactly. You preaching.
Um, I ain't trying to. I'm just talking.
You
I'm
do
just
it with
talking. I'm just sharing some things that I've had to learn, and that I'm constantly still growing in.
exactly. It's a
I'm
wrong way.
still growing and maturing in
Yeah,
this
me
thing.
too. Yes.
It's a
Yep.
constant journey. It's a constant learning experience
Yes, it
in
is.
being a leader. I've said this, and I'll say this, that there are books and things like that on leadership, but you
Yes.
learn about leadership while being in leadership.
In leadership. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
the books and things are templates, but
Right.
we can't make that template a temple. We
No.
learn, we learn while we're in the job, while we're doing the thing.
Oh
And
my.
so I'm constantly learning, as
Mm-hmm.
I'm even teaching now.
All
Um,
right. I'm
Another thing
learning
that
too.
will make an effective choral ministry, with our directors that are watching, make sure that your communication with your leader, with your pastor, is open and consistent and
Mm-hmm.
continual at all times.
All
You
time.
want to make sure that you have the heart of your leader and that
Yes.
you are in line with his vision.
Yes.
Because if we're out of sync with what the pastor wants, then that makes us ineffective. Even if the
Yes.
congregation, even if the congregation is enjoying the songs, if it's not in line with what the leader wants, then it's still ineffective.
It's ineffective. You
You know,
preaching, I'm telling
uh,
you.
so we got to make sure that that we have that communication with our
Mm-hmm.
pastors, with our
What our
leaders,
leaders. Mm-hmm.
hearing their heart, getting assessments, asking them for their not just for what their vision is, but asking them for their criticisms. What are your
Exactly.
constructive criticisms that you can give me, that I can take to heart, that I need to work on as a director so that I can further help assist this choir to grow? You
Oh,
know,
that's that's
um,
that's awesome. You got
um,
thumbs and hearts going up.
oh well, glory to God. Um, Another thing about how to have an effective music ministry, again, as I was talking earlier about the challenge of being in a 106-year-old house, that
Wow.
upholding a traditional standard, but yet trying to bridge the gap.
Right.
Don't be afraid to challenge the culture a little bit.
Just
You
right.
know, you have to be able to just stretch them a little bit. Don't be afraid to introduce some new things. And
Mm-hmm.
when you introduce those things, sometimes you may have to do those songs a few Sundays close together so that the
Right.
congregation can get accustomed to it.
Right.
Because one thing I've learned about us
Yeah.
is is
Once
if we don't know a song, we won't
we
get with
don't,
the song.
nope, we won't respond. They'll sit there and be like,
They'll sit. So sometimes, especially if it's something that's different from the regular culture of the house, um, do it. Some Sundays close together, and you'll see a change in the response of the congregants.
right. Exactly.
Um,
Buster was
so,
asking, did you still love praise and worship?
Buster,
And when he told me to ask.
I I definitely still love praise and worship. That's who I am. In the words of William Murphy, that's who
Right.
I am. I still have a heart for it, and I'm thankful to God for, again, a pastor with a progressive mindset, that
Mhm.
understands that even that praise and worship, the music, the
Right.
team, all of that has a place in worship service
In the
now. So
yes.
we do have a praise team at our church. We do praise and worship on Sunday mornings,
Hmm.
and I lead it. Our pastor's daughter leads it,
Hmm.
and so yes, praise and worship is still a big part of who I am.
Okay. Are you happy, Buster? I did.
Another thing, um, going to rehearsal,
Yeah.
we want to have a productive rehearsal. That's
Absolutely.
always our goal, to have
Absolutely.
productive rehearsals. However, if the presence of God comes into that rehearsal,
See?
let let God be God, and let Him come in and bless and minister
Eh,
to the choir, minister to
yes.
the singer,
Yes.
because sometimes
Absolutely.
sometimes the choir, they need that outlet before they get to service on Sunday.
Yes. Yes.
And you want rehearsal to kind of feel like Sunday, even though we're focusing on learning songs, on reviewing material.
Exactly.
We want it to feel like
A
Sunday,
Sunday
you
morning
know.
service. Exactly.
So let God have His way. If He comes in, and then you have to be wise to the Spirit when to know to reel it on in and bring it back
Right.
into focus of what's more important at that
Exactly.
time. You know, because
Exactly.
our saints, I love our saints. We'll go into a praise, and if
And we'll be
I don't
there an
really
hour later.
we'll be there, and I love it. So it's a great thing. Um, yeah, it's a great thing. Let's see. Are there any questions?
Um, let me see. Let me roll up, scroll up. I think that was the two that I had. Brandy's, you answered the second part of Brandy's question already. And Buster, that was his question.
Okay.
Let me see. I went all the way up to the top. So far, we're good. So far, we're good. Yep,
Okay.
we're good so far. I'm sure somebody will come up with something. If not in my inbox, they'll send me something. Ask, they don't want to put it out here.
Okay.
But
All right.
yep, but
Um,
definitely, um, as a director, you can't be afraid to introduce new material because you don't want to be. My thing is, I don't want to be stagnant. You know what I'm
right.
saying? You want to have a balance, and I think um that's that's what makes a good director. It's almost like you being in a form of government, or you're like a CEO of a company. You kind of have to weigh things out, and kind of, because you
Yeah.
got all kinds of people. It's really a hard job because in a choir you have so many different personalities. So everybody likes something different, and you got to pull all of that together and yet control yourself,
That,
because
that-
music is, being in the choir is an emotional art. Music is an emotional art anyway. It cannot
yes.
reach people unless you involved in it. It's
Right.
not like putting spoons or plates on the table, boom, 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 and that's it. No, people,
Right.
what comes from the heart reaches the heart, and you have to be involved in it. And sometimes it gets hard. If you
Yes.
it, it's like a fine line. You have to know how to be connected but yet disconnected,
Right.
because you can get aggravated, you can get frustrated, you can start looking at people, at the same time, and you still say, but you can start looking
And,
at some folks like,
right.
really?
And
Did you just do that?
I'm glad you said that, because that
Right.
kind of even goes into something that I posted earlier about
Hmm.
changing your face. And
Yes.
I posted about changing your face.
Yes.
That even you cannot, and again, I'm being transparent, I'm growing in this. You cannot let those that you lead see your frustration.
See, you can't do that.
They they can't see your frustration,
Mm-mm.
because that can cause them to shut down. And
Exactly.
if the atmosphere is in our hands, if we're being
Hmm.
conduit to the atmosphere,
Hmm.
and I shut down and the choir shut down, then that can cause a clash in the atmosphere, and the whole service can
Just go.
go a whole nother way.
Yes,
So
it is.
yes, that's a great point as a director, that we have to make sure to keep our face, that we have to change our face and make sure that we keep that game face on at all times.
Exactly, at all times, because and it's another thing, back to your point you made earlier about picking songs, singing on Sunday. And I mean, you all have a major job, 13 songs. I mean, and I'm sweating with just the six I have to do. you, you got 13. I can't even imagine that. But the thing, you have your plan of how you're going to do, but then you have to be prepared for the shift, because sometimes you can have all of these songs lined up. This is what we're doing, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, 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 blah. And
Yes.
then all of a sudden the Spirit said, no, don't sing that. And then
Yes.
it's like you got to pull something from way back, and then you got, and I always remind my choir, I say, you have to be ready for change. This is what I'm planning. You always have to have a plan.
Yes.
But
Yes.
just because I plan doesn't mean that's what we're doing on Sunday morning, because the Spirit may come through and say,
It will change. I I I personally, and I had this down here, to plan ahead. That
mm-hmm,
while we understand things are subject to change, we have to have that plan. And
mm-hmm,
so, I have my spreadsheets, what have you, and I'll plan out the song schedule
mm-hmm,
for maybe like 6 weeks. I'll do
mm-hmm,
like a 6 week schedule or what
mm-hmm,
have you. And I've now pulled my head musician in, our music director, shout out to Larone. We meet together and we
mm-hmm.
create the song list together. So I'm not
Okay.
just doing it, but I've brought him in as well to
Mm-hmm.
help put that list together, so that if there's something that he don't know, he can have an
Right,
advance time to learn it, and then
right.
also to implement in songs that he already know,
See,
because
teamwork.
that'll make it easier as well. That'll make it more productive. If I'm not
Mm-hmm.
just bringing him songs to learn, but I'm teaching stuff that he already know that the choir may not
No,
know.
exactly.
And then we'll get to a particular Sunday, and the service go a whole nother
Oh,
direction.
mm-hmm.
And so I'm tapping him on his shoulder, like, well, I know what we planned out 4 weeks ago for today,
Right.
but Spirit is calling for something else,
Something else.
you know. And so we have to be sensitive to the voice of God, sensitive to the atmosphere of the house, and being able to be flexible. And
Exactly.
don't be so. We can't be so um, eager or thirsty
Mm-hmm.
to do a particular song that we're willing to risk the atmosphere to do it.
Oh, see, yes, exactly,
Because
exactly.
I've taught songs, and I've in the choir wore it out in rehearsal, and I would
Right.
be ready to do it on a Sunday. Like, this
Sunday.
gonna be number 3 for broadcast. This gonna
Right.
be number 3 for 8 o'clock service. And and there's been times where the power of God came in, and we couldn't even go on.
No,
Even
exactly.
even if it's within the time frame that the choir is supposed to sing. No, if the power of God then came in, then our time frame then gone out the window.
If that's it,
You know,
you try to tell
so
people that.
we never want to risk the atmosphere of a service to satisfy our agenda.
No, no, no. Deshaun says, Deshaun Harris says, learning how to flow with the Spirit is key. When to stay, we need to know when to stay in the worship vein and when to move on. And
Yeah.
Demetria Pitch, she said, "Ooh, wee, you said something right there when you was." Brandy says, "Got to be skilled enough to seamlessly flow with the Spirit." Exactly.
Yes.
JD Winfield has a question. He said, "How do you keep the morale in the choir when/if a pastor decides it's time to move the church in a different direction?" He said, "It's a 60-year-old church who's used to tradition, but are now a challenge to expand. How do you keep the morale in the choir?" And I think you touched on that earlier when you were
Yeah.
saying about keeping with the traditions, but not being afraid to
Right.
challenge a little bit. And I
Branch
guess
out.
this person is trying to understand, how can I keep the choir enthused? Because, as you said before, we get a little nervous when you start changing stuff around. This is not how we used
Right.
to do it.
Right.
And that's the question. How do you keep the morale up in the choir?
Well, one thing that I had to learn with coming into the role of minister of music at Greater Harvest,
Mm-hmm.
prior to being in that role, I was a member for a year, and
Mm-hmm.
so the songs that they sung or sung repetitiously, I had a going list already. Where
Okay.
when
All
I
right.
when I walked in the door, when I walked
Mm-hmm.
in the role, I knew that I could not get rid of or extinguish what has already been established.
Right.
So the first thing, of course, is you don't erase, again, the foundation. You don't
No, you
erase the
don't.
original sound of what they're used to.
Right.
But as I heard Pastor DeAndre Patterson say, you don't move an old ship too fast at all either. And so to keep that morale, you keep it 75-80% what they're used to, and then you have that 20 to 25% of a new sound,
Okay.
of something fresh, of something that they're not used to. You know,
Okay.
you'll bring that song in, maybe teach one, if it's a traditional church, maybe teach
Hmm.
one praise and worship song or one, contemporary song. Maybe start them out doing one a month,
Right.
and then you just kind of build from there and kind of see how it goes. I'll never forget when I first taught Days of Elijah.
Oh.
When I first taught Days of Elijah,
Okay.
I taught it for Resurrection Sunday, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And when I was
Hmm.
teaching it, I'll never forget one of the older saints was like, riding on the cloud. Who riding on the cloud? What?
Oh.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh no.
Riding on the cloud. What is that? And so here it is. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Here it is. When you're teaching something new, when you're teaching something new, you also have to be sure to with the teaching of the song, you have to teach about the song.
Oh, see. Oh. 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 All right.
Glory to God. Thank you, Holy
Oh,
Spirit. Thank
that's.
you.
Oh my goodness. That's a
With
good one.
when it comes down to like a new sound or contemporary, when teaching the song, you teach about the song as well. You
Yes.
bring the word of God into it so that they can understand that the new sound is just as relevant and just as
Yes.
connected to the word as the traditional
See.
sound.
That's
And
it.
so
Yes, it.
and so when that mother said, "What is this about riding on the cloud?" That was that was a teaching opportunity for me. That was a teaching
Yes, it
opportunity
was.
for me
Yes, it
and a
was.
learning opportunity for them, where I had
Yes.
to teach about, the coming of Christ and the majesty of who he is, and how
Exactly.
there is no God like Jehovah. And we sung that song for the first time. When we sung this, I was nervous as all get out.
I know
But
you
the
were.
but to God be the glory. The
Yes.
house loved it, and now it's one of Greater Harvest's favorite praise and worship songs, Days of Elijah.
Wow.
Because
Yes.
when I taught the song, I taught about the song,
Yes.
and so I guess that would be my answer, JD. I'm long-winded and take me a while, but I
He
guess that
got you
would
when
be
he said
the
yes.
answer. Teach the song, but teach about it as well.
Exactly. Andre Williams said, "Tell the story of the song."
Absolutely, Dre.
Demi-
Yeah.
exactly. Demetria Pitt says, "You better have the word of God hidden in your heart, or have a Bible within your reach when you're teaching these songs."
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and JD
Yes.
JD also says teaching the songs up front in terms of the meaning that also helps with the delivery of the song. And that's very true, because a lot of times people are picking songs and singing songs, and they're clueless as to what they're singing about. And you
Absolutely.
wonder why people are sitting there. You cannot beat experience with
Yeah.
something whenever you try to explain it. And if you're
Right.
picking a song and these people have no idea what you're talking about, they have no relationship with the Lord. You just tingling brass and cymbals. You just making noise. It's
Right.
not reaching anybody. It's
Right.
not effective.
Right.
That was
And that's
awesome.
and that goes to another way of having an effective choral ministry or
Hmm.
choir, is that you
Yep.
have to promote the spiritual part.
Yes,
You
you do.
have to promote.
You
As a
have
choir
to.
director, as a minister of music, it's not
Yes.
just about teaching songs and directing. You have to promote the spiritual part. You have to promote prayer. That's why I said about letting the presence of God take over when the presence of God comes in rehearsal. You have to promote prayer, praise and worship, promote the
Hmm.
word of God, being faithful to Sunday school and Bible
Yes.
class, and
Sunday
not just
school.
showing up on Sundays. Yeah, Sunday
Sunday
school,
school.
Bible
Sunday
class,
school.
now I make I do Bible class because I
Okay.
just can't be in church from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. So
That's
glory
a
to
long
God,
time.
hallelujah. So
I shall bye.
so so my teaching commitment is Bible class on Wednesday nights.
Right.
That's what
Right.
we have Bible classes going on right now, but because I'm so humbled and great to be here, that's the only reason why I'm not at Bible class right now.
Oh.
And so no, you all good. But the spiritual side must be emphasized and promoted by the
Yes.
director in order
Absolutely.
to have an effective music ministry. The choir must
Absolutely.
understand that they're not just a singer, but they are a
Right.
Levite. And then we have to teach about what a Levite is. What is the Levitical call? What is their role? Those things have to be known by the director and taught by the director.
Exactly.
It's
You have
important.
you have to know. I think sometimes and it kind of perturbs me sometimes because when I'm directing, people don't realize that when you're standing in front of them, and it's your calling, you can pick up their spirits when they're up there, whether they're on
Yes,
board, whether they consecrated, or whether they just up there for the show.
right.
And that kind of
Yes,
perturbs me when I can see and I can pick up your spirit. I'm trying to stay in tune with God so it can flow through
yes,
me and keep going, and I can give to you
right,
and sing the song the way the Lord is saying. And you showboat.
right.
Everybody has to be on one accord. And
On the
I
court.
do understand that with church choirs, we kind of, as you're coming up, you kind of have to work with whoever you have. But it gets to a point where, like you said, we have to teach them. You should mature to a point where you realize I'm giving a service. I'm not
That's
just up
right.
here just doing this. I'm really doing a service. I mean, if we look in the Bible times, the choir went out before the warriors to give God
Yes,
praise before
that's
everything
right.
goes. So people really need to understand that it's deeper than, like as you mentioned in the beginning, it's deeper than the showboat and all of this, and
That's right.
singing with the rips and the runs and all. It's more to it than that. It's a
That's right.
real ministry. You
It
got a
is a
compliment
real
here. It says
ministry.
Johnell does a great job of using several choir directors. Explain and why that is so important for you to do that. Why is that
Oh
important for
wow.
you to use?
Well,
Deshaun says that.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Deshaun. First of all, and by the way, he's one of those directors, and I can give him a shout out. He's a good director,
Oh, okay.
and so I have to do that because again, 3 services totaling about 13 songs a Sunday.
You can't.
Uh,
Exactly.
you know, I can't do it all. And again,
No.
in me being transparent, sometimes now another thing about directing for me is not only is it a passion for me, but it's therapeutic for me as well.
Say
And
that. Yes, it
so
is.
and
Yes, it
so
is.
sometimes while I'm ministering to the Lord and I'm standing in front of the choir directing,
Mhm.
sometimes I'm ministering to myself.
Exact.
I'm
Yes.
worshiping and while
Yes.
I'm moving my hands. And so
Yes.
it's therapeutic for me. And so sometimes I'll stand in front of the choir all day, all 3 services and do it all. Sometimes. But then there are times where I will utilize my directors because delegation is important. You
Key.
have to know how to delegate.
Yes.
You have to know how to delegate and to develop those that you delegate. You
That's
know,
leadership.
and that's leadership. It's about development. It's about
Hmm.
delegation, and I'm blessed to have some great directors that have been doing it for a while that know how to do,
Oh, that's
and how to
awesome.
make it happen. Whether I'm sitting there or whether I'm out of town somewhere or preaching
Wow.
somewhere, I know that the choir is going to have someone in front of them that can
That's
make it
capable.
happen.
That's
And
capable.
yeah, and so that's yeah, that's how you have to make it happen. So yeah, it's definitely important. It's definitely
Yeah.
important.
Yes, it is. Mike Kirby says, always give choir members a chance to sit out if they're not ready to be serious about worship on that given day. And that's true. I know I have had times. Hey, Pastor Lockhart, he's another great director. I know there are times I had to give people vacations from the choir because they were just
Well,
like, and I just give you. I said, okay,
yeah,
you can take, you know, when take off some time, and when the Lord speak to both of us and let us know that it's time for you to come back,
yeah,
you come back. But until then, until
yeah,
you get to where you can work with the group, then you kind of
yeah,
sit over there.
right.
Demetria Pitt said there's a challenge in doing so if you're new to an establishment. Can you speak about dealing with coming in as a new minister of music, dealing with the habits and the attitudes of those who were there before you?
How about shadow?
Demetria, I think you gotta hit a chord. CEG.
Listen, you have to have the love of God first of all. You have to have the love of God. You have to have the love of God.
Yes.
You have to have the patience of Job.
Oh,
Um, and you have to understand that just like you don't know those people, they don't know you.
no.
And
No, they don't.
so and it can be a challenge because you have, depending on the number of choir members that you're leading, 20, 30,
Hmm.
40, 50, 60, different personalities, different
Yes.
views, different
Hmm.
opinions, different
Yes.
ideas. All of
Yes.
that is coming on you as one person.
Yes.
Um, and it really takes love and it takes patience.
Hmm.
It takes being able to hear them out. However, and prayer, definitely, of course,
Yes.
we know that takes prayer.
A whole
Being
lot
able
of
to
that.
hear them out through the lenses of the love of God and through the lenses of understanding that they're trying to get to know you and you're trying to get to know them. And
Hmm.
trust takes time to be established. So
Yes.
that's why you have to have that patience because that trust is trying to be built there. And so with time, you hear out their heart. You use discernment and you use prayer to, if there's something um, that they want to suggest or offer, and you feel like it'll be beneficial, then try your best to roll it to include it.
Right.
Try your best to make those that you lead feel included.
Right.
It
That is
it
so
can't
true.
be
Amen.
it can't be a dictatorship of this is what I'm saying and this is how it's going to go.
Yep.
It has to be it has to be um yeah, it has to be that relationship like, hey, I know you're not really feeling me right now because you really
But
don't know me, but let's
right.
talk this thing through. Let's
Hmm.
work together and let's make this thing happen. Because at the end of the day, we're a community trying
Hmm.
to fulfill the one goal of ministering in this house.
Yes. I couldn't have said that better myself. Demetri said you passed.
Oh, hallelujah.
She said, "Oh, glory." Hello. I want to do a couple of shout outs to Mother Charlie Harris. Hey, how are you? Lady Darnice Taylor. Vanessa Nisi Sims is on. Lavelle Lacey. Oh, wow. He's
Oh my
on.
God. Yes,
Yeah, I
Lavelle.
said, my God. Malik Doris is on. He said, you preaching. Pastor Kenneth Lockhart, JD Winfield, Brandy's hanging in there, Mike Kirby, Deshaun, Andre Williams. Let me see who else is out here. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's on here because I truly, truly appreciate. D'Amica Brown was watching. I'm really glad. Elaine Philon was watching. Oh, that's my friend.
Mama Lane.
Yes. Let me
Now
see.
I have to, if she's on, I have to say that in addition to Ala Cathay is my directing inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But I got my start directing at Pleasant Green Baptist Church under Elaine Filon and Montague Filon.
Oh
And so
yes, they awesome
they
people.
are that's my foundation. That was my launching pad. And I just have to give that shout out to Elaine Filon. I call her Mama Lane because she's like another
Yep.
mother to me. And my big bro, Montague Filon. They believed in me, and that was my first opportunity to actually put into operation what I did in the mirror for like 10 years.
You know what? I have no
So,
problem. You know, we should always give honor to whom honor is due. If they helped you,
indeed.
they just helped you. Never forget
Yes.
who was there to help you. That no, I'm cool
Yes.
with that. I do that all the time. Dante Kennedy was on.
Hey, Dante.
Let me see. Antoinette Brown. I want to make sure I get everybody because I sure Arnold Born Bless Welch. Oh my goodness, he was on it. Terrence Johnson, he's another maestro, excellent musician. Danielle Fleming,
Hey, Danielle.
Marie Bradley,
Hey,
uh,
Marie.
Chandra
That's another one
Hughes.
of my great directors.
Oh, awesome. You know,
Marie
I'm
is
a
another
sneak in
great
the
director.
back and sit in the back row. I'm not coming
Come on.
when I, no, I'm sitting in the back row. I'm gonna sneak in there. I'm gonna disguise myself and sit there and just enjoy. Oh my God. Vanessa Young was on. Okay.
Hey,
Let me make
Vanessa.
sure I got everybody. Sharon Davis, Anna Hatch, Alonzo Berry, Hatcher
Yes. Awesome.
Roy. Oh my goodness. Woo. Oh, we had so many people. I'm so thankful for all of you all
Awesome.
tuning in. And I think somebody has one more question, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up because we don't want to wear you out. You know, I just might have to call you back later on this
I,
year.
I'm being blessed right now. This is very encouraging for me, and strength for me as I'm sharing. This is awesome
You know what?
experience. So thank you.
Right, it's a symbiotic thing going on here. Okay, one more question. It says, what's your take on choir members' attendance? What systems have you seen work in terms of ensuring folks are just not coming and going as they please in the choir? In other words, order in the choir.
Ensuring the choir.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, um, excuse me. I strongly again encourage consistency and
Yeah.
faithfulness and dedication. We know it takes that to have a successful, effective choir. Now, you know that with anything, especially again with us,
Yes,
especially
absolutely.
when it comes down, we can have a choir of about 25 all year until a month and a half. And when I say we, I'm talking in general. I'm not talking
In
about my
general.
church. I'm talking in
Right.
general
In
of how
general.
we
Yep.
know church choirs can be. You can
Yes.
have a choir of 25 for the whole year until a month and a half before anniversary concert. And then all
Hmm.
of a sudden, you
You
start
don't.
seeing your choir go from 25 to 28 to 33 to 58 to 72 in
You
a
sitting
matter
up
of a
like
month
well, you looking
because,
like Gideon
because they know that the event
is coming.
is about to take place.
Hmm.
And so what I had to do, what I had to implement is that there's no, especially because we recorded last year. We recorded
Exactly.
last year.
Yes, you did.
And
Yes, you did.
we recorded in October. And so I want to say probably around July, I shut it off where no one could join and no one could return
I don't blame you.
because we can't being in ministry is not about being in front when it's just time for the spotlight. And so you
You
have to
preach.
real ministry is when you can be in morning service the week after the concert. Real
Yes.
commitment,
Real
real
commitment.
commitment is when you show up at the pastor's engagement after the concert.
But how
You
they
see
do
what I'm
that?
saying? Um, And so I had to put that measure in place. Like when it
Yes,
comes
you did.
down to like a certain event or what have
Hmm.
you, you have to put those times. Hey, 3 months leading out, no one can join, no one can return,
Oh
and
my
then you
goodness.
have to have. I'm glad God has blessed me with great section leaders that take attendance, that
Hmm.
monitor attendance, that can
That's
see what
awesome.
I don't see because
Hmm.
sometimes I miss some things. And
Hmm.
so when it comes down to the following year, if that person is present for the year prior and it comes down to the following year and they try to repeat that same cycle, well, no, we can shut that off because
Oh.
we have record of how it was the year before, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and so though that was a particular system that I had to put in place to encourage consistent attendance in the choir. If you want to be up here for the big day, you
You
11
better be here
a.m.
for
is a
the
big day.
birthday.
Every Sunday at 11 a.m. is a big day.
That's it. That's it.
Every time the choir got to sing, whether it's a big day,
It's a big
and it
day.
needs to be treated. And if when you have people and you see that continual system of those who only want to be around for the big stuff, then that's when we have to put our, you know, our boldness on and just say, you
Hmm.
know what, this thing is not in your heart, and this is not for you.
Right. As Demetrius says, showtime at the Apollo.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Showtime. I mean, you know, it it's amazing how the role of a choir director has evolved, and it's amazing how many people do not understand the concept. All they see is the glory. They
Right.
see you standing in front, and people saying, "Oh, amen for the choir," and the choir does well, and everybody patting you on the back. Oh, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody see because there is a drum major in every person.
Right.
Sometimes it comes to
Right.
the forefront, sometimes it doesn't. But there is, and people want praise, whatever. But it's a whole. When you take it serious, when you recognize that it is a ministry call and not
Yeah.
just somebody, just some, as they say, some willy nilly thing you doing, then I
Right.
think a lot of people would take a step back and really analyze this and say, you know what, maybe this is not for me.
Not for me.
I'm not willing to make that sacrifice. I don't think all this is necessary. Well, if you don't think it's necessary, you won't be effective
Right.
and you will not do a good job.
You'll
You will
find
not do a
yourself
good job.
half. You'll find yourself half doing it
Exactly.
because passion. You have to have passion is what fuels your purpose. If you
Exactly.
don't have passion in what you're doing,
You
then
just,
you'll just be null and void, and you'll just find yourself going through the rituals and the motions.
that's all.
And that energy, it can be seen while you're standing in front of the people.
Exactly. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. A shout out to Anton Taylor being here.
Hey,
Um,
bro.
this, you know what? This was such an amazing class. This is
I've enjoyed
I'm
myself.
look, I thoroughly enjoyed. I got fed. Now, I don't know about everybody else, but I got fed. I mean, this was like a regeneration for me, to help with this, to because sometimes you, like I said earlier, sometimes you're doing and you're going and you kind of wonder, is somebody else doing this besides me? Does somebody else have that same vision, that same drive, that same tenacity, that same push, that same, connection that I have to do? And it's amazing to hear you. It was just a blessing to my spirit. It really was,
Wow.
and I'm sure you blessed a lot of other people. And I'm not gonna wear you out because you are a man of God. I'm not gonna wear you out. And Mike Kirby said yes, but you know what? I'm honored. I'm so thankful that
Thank you.
you accepted my invitation. And
Oh,
this
thank
won't be the
you so
last
much.
one. I have to bring you in for something greater because you got
I'm,
too much to give out to be
I'm,
doing little little
I'm
small
like
stuff
I
like
said.
this.
Thank you so much. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still maturing in this. I'm not perfect. Sometimes you error in leadership. all of that. But it's by the grace of God that I'm able to serve in this capacity, and I don't take that lightly, and I don't take it for granted that I'm guarded by His grace.
Yes. Hey,
Hallelujah.
amen.
Glory to
Hallelujah.
God. I'm guarded by His grace, and
I
I'm
enjoyed this
so
thoroughly. I want to
so
give a couple
thankful.
of more shout outs to Yvonne Williams and Patrice Pickett. Miriam invited them to watch this video. Awesome. Thank you,
Awesome.
Miriam. That's my buddy. Demetria, one final comment. She said, it's not only refreshing, it's confirmation that you're going in the right direction. That was a comment to me with the challenges that a minister of music faces. Thank you from the retirement section. I thank you all. And Deshaun said you did a great job, bro. You did an excellent
Yes,
job.
man.
I am so happy,
To
happy,
God be the
happy, happy.
glory.
And I want to just thank you and just thank God for you and your ministry. And I will be slipping in there, sitting in that back row back there,
Yes,
watching
come
you
on,
and
come on,
Deshaun and everybody else do your thing. I'm just gonna come
come
to enjoy and just soak in the spirit and keep going. I probably joined Danielle Carpenter on the back row.
on.
We'll sit
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Come on and hang out with us. And again, thank you
I,
for this opportunity. The Choir Directors Academy. This is a magnificent vision. This is
oh, thank
awesome,
you.
and I
Thank
commend
you.
you for taking on this task. And
Thank you so much.
because
To God be the
we
glory. Thank
need
you.
something like this. We need an outlet where we can come and share with each other and gleam off of each other and learn
Love it.
from each other. And so I want to work with you and partner with you. I have some
Yep.
things going in my head that I want to do as well. And I will be sharing with you. And let's
Oh,
just tell everybody to stay tuned
stay
because we
tuned.
need to have a great place and great network for our choir directors and our
Yes.
ministers of music. We need it. We
Yes.
need
Did
it. We
y'all
need it.
did
We
y'all
need
hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Oh God, thank you. That just blessed my spirit because you know what? I told one young lady, she was saying, "Oh my God, that was a God idea you just did." I said, "Girl, I was just gonna
it.
do like 5 little classes, and I was gonna cut this off because people been pushing me to do this." And I said,
Mhm.
"Nah." And then I decided to do it. Started in May, and I said, "Well, I'm just gonna do
Yeah.
5 little classes, and I'm done." And it's just like it just keeps growing. But you know what? When God gives you something, He doesn't necessarily tell you where it's going. He just wants you to get in there and get
Right.
started.
Just
And then
want you to
He'll
get in
send the
there.
masters along, people
Yes.
who are really great
Yes.
at what they do, that He put the
Yes.
same gift in them and connect you
Yes.
all together and build the
Yes.
kingdom from this vantage point. It's all a kingdom
Yes.
building, but we're all
Right.
coming from different points to converge on one point to push the kingdom up higher.
Yes.
I am
Indeed.
so happy. Oh, Elder Johnell, I am so happy. But anyway, you all, thank you so much to you, Elder Johnell Nicholas,
Thank you.
and to everybody that's out there. I'm bubbling. I'm not gonna sleep tonight. But
I'm,
anyway,
I feel
thank
good.
you.
I do.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
But thank you everybody for tuning in, for sharing, for liking, for whatever you did. I appreciate everybody for being with us. And you stay tuned because there's some great stuff coming up here. It's some great stuff. And I want everybody to be blessed. Have a good night. Get a good night's sleep. I won't because I'm fired up. But you all get a good night's sleep and join us. Maybe not next week because it's July 4th on a Wednesday. So I won't take you away from the barbecue and stuff. But the next week, we will come back together, and I got somebody else that's going to help us out, and we're just going to pull this whole thing together and do a great job for God all together. Any closing words, Elder Johnell? Any closing words?
Again, thank you for this opportunity. Again, to my great choir directors and all those that are
Yes,
watching, thank you all for tuning in. And just focus on the assignment. Continue to do everything you can to perfect your craft.
yes, yes,
Observe, watch, and glean from those that are better than you, that do it better than
yes,
you.
yes.
And just build your choir. Stay connected to the Lord, stay connected to your pastor and to your assignment, and stay passionate, and it's going to drive your purpose. Thank you.
Hup. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you so very much. Good night.